What I care about right now is the New York Football Giants have hope. That is what you get when your young quarterback comes out and is just an absolute beast. And yet again, on a short week with very little time to prepare, it was all about the young guns for the Giants, particularly Cam Skattebo and, of course, Jaxson Dart. Jaxson Dart was so good in this game. You could see it. You could feel it. The broadcast talked about the palpable energy over and over and over again. I'm telling you, Caroline, more important than wins and losses. If the Giants finish 6-11 this year, Giants fans, the Giants organization, nobody's going to give a damn as long as Jaxson Dart keeps doing what he's doing, because right now it looks like the Giants got their guy.
And it's fun. Like, that was such a fun Giants team to watch last night. Not even just offensively, not even just some of the explosive plays that we saw, but Cam Skattebo ripping his shirt off on the broadcast. He and Jaxson Dart doing the thriller dance in the end zone. Like, this is a Giants team with swagger. This is a Giants team that is so incredibly fun to watch. And frankly, Fitz, I don't know if I could pinpoint a Giants team in my lifetime that I can say has swagger. So if nothing else, at least they're fun to watch. If nothing else, at least we have a couple of stories that we can fall in love with, whether it's the young quarterback in Jaxson Dart that's playing like he's not a young quarterback getting his third start in the league, and also not acting like he's a young quarterback getting his first few starts in the league. And I don't say that in a derogatory way. I don't say that because I think what Jaxson Dart is doing is wrong. I'm just saying we don't see that typically in young quarterbacks that are still trying to find their way into the league. He is acting with a sense of swagger that we do not see very frequently from young quarterbacks in this league. And that's just incredibly fun to watch. How sustainable is it? I don't know. I don't know how sustainable it is for Jaxson Dart to be running the football the way that he is and taking some of the hits that he's taking. But, that might be a conversation for a different story. That's a conversation for Monday. On Friday, just several hours removed from that game, I think right now we can just enjoy the joy that we all got out of watching that team last night. And I know it's early. I know we're only 3 games in. I know we're only 3 starts in. But with statement wins over the Chargers and a divisional rival who you absolutely hate, beating them down the way that they did last night, I think right now you can say things can change, but right now you can say, yes, the Giants did get their guy. And yes, Brian Daboll did stake his future on the right guy.
There's a spark plug energy to certain people that's bigger than anything they do just in the numbers or on the stat sheet. Like there are some people that walk into the room and light it up. And one thing that is so apparent when you cover the NFL for more than 2 seconds is that for a lot of players in the league, it's a business. It's how they feed their families. It's what they've done their entire life. Yes, they enjoy playing, but at the end of the day, it's a business. It is their family business. When you get somebody that comes in that has this level of just energy, that has this level of, to your point, joy when they play, when you've got somebody in that's literally high-fiving a ref that's in the middle of trying to make a call on whether or not it was a touchdown or not, there is just a youthful energy, and I mean this in an incredibly complimentary way, that reminds me of Elf. Like sometimes you need Will Ferrell and Elf to come in and just remind you that New York's a magical place. Like everybody gets so caught up sometimes in the business of the NFL. To me, what really stands out from the minute he walks on the field is that the energy picks up for everybody because he's having fun, because it feels different when he jogs onto the field. Russell Wilson had to come into this game, and it was an abject disaster for the couple of plays that he was in the game, and you could feel the energy drop. Certain guys just and girls walk on the field and the court for whatever they do, and because of their aura around it, as cheesy as that sounds, they light up the room. They light up the team. That's what Jackson's doing. That's why I think there's so much hope. And I distinctly remember Derek Carr's rookie year for me as a Raiders fan. I hadn't seen a quarterback that was worth a you-know-what in a long time. And that team started 0-10. And I remember when they finally won their first game, I was so happy because at the end of the day, I didn't care about wins and losses. I felt like my team had found their quarterback for a long time. And I was sitting next to a Giants fan last night watching this game. And just the joy on his face with every single play. Just kept thinking, man, that's what hits different. Everybody feels it in the room, and that's what makes Jaxson so special right out of the gate. We'll see how the football works out, Caroline, but right now, the energy is just palpable from the dude.
It feels college-esque.
Hmm.
And again, I don't mean that in a derogatory way. That's not me trying to dilute what we saw last night. I mean that with all of the love in my heart, understanding how much I love college football. And a reason why I love college football so much is because of the weirdness of it, the unadulterated joy and youthful, jovial feel that you have from just kids playing football and having fun doing it. That's what we saw last night. This youthful energy, this kind of college type of joy that I felt like they got out of playing. That probably still would have been my takeaway had the Giants lost that game.
Yeah.
Obviously, it feels a whole lot better that you won that game and you won that game in fairly dominant fashion. That it felt like the Giants had control of that game really from the beginning, Fitz. In the beginning, I was like, man, this Giants team looks good. Surely the Eagles are going to turn it on. Surely the Giants are going to mess something up. Surely the Giants are going to giant. And the Eagles, the reigning Super Bowl champion, are going to do something about it. But pretty early in the first half, I was like, nope, like the Giants just have a commanding control over this game. So it's both things combined. It's the energy, it's the vibe, it's how we all felt, how much fun we had watching that game last night, combined with how dominant they looked over a team that has largely been dominating the NFL over the last couple of years.
The only thing they couldn't stop in this game was the tush push. And yet again, we find ourselves in tush push news heaven because the
Ugh.
Eagles ran it at one point 4 consecutive plays to go in and get their touchdown. And Micah Parsons tweeted out, "This is not football," with 2 trash emojis. Again, this is the debate. This is the debate we always have. Like, who are you to say it is or isn't football because you don't like the way it looks? Like, because that's not the way football is supposed to look. Like, who's the judge and arbiter on that? If your favorite team figures out how to do something that nobody can stop, do you really want the precedent set that, well, we figured out a play that nobody can stop? And, well, unfortunately, people just don't like the way it looks. So we're not going to let you run it anymore. That is absolute BS to its absolute core. You can't just come in and say, okay, and I hear the argument, as the arguments were raging last night, hear the argument, well, look at all the false starts. Okay, then learn to officiate it better. Right? But at some point, what is your real answer for why the tush push can't happen? What makes the tush push illegal? If your answer is you don't like the way it looks, I don't really care what you like when it comes to the way it looks. If your answer is this isn't football, my God, now you sound like the old man on the lawn that's just looking up at the sky screaming, this isn't football. That's what football heads from the 70s say about today's game in general. Don't be that guy. And if your answer is, well, they keep committing penalties, they keep doing false starts, then work with the refs to officiate it properly. But just because refs are bad at their job and your favorite team can't stop it doesn't mean you make something illegal. This is the stupidest thing we're doing right now, Caroline.
Yeah, to that Tom Pelissero point, like if you run the tush push once, yeah, obviously we're gonna have tush push conversation, but like all of a sudden, running the tush push 4 times in a row is an issue. Like if you run it once, that's okay. If you run it 4 times in a row, that's fine too. Like that's allowed. Like if you run 4 consecutive run plays, that's allowed. If you run 4 consecutive
It's
pass plays,
common.
that's allowed. Like that's what we do. This is football. And I kept seeing all of these tweets last night of like, yeah, this is not real football. Well, that's what they were saying in the 70s, before, whatever year it was, 50s, 20s, and an Army Navy 3-0 game that, a forward pass wasn't real football. And the air raid came about and it was like, oh, well, that's not real football. And now we live in a world where we can't imagine, not throwing the ball all around the yard. Like, this is what happens. These are changes that happen and are inevitable in the game. And sometimes changes are uncomfortable. Sometimes you experience growing pains, but the game of football as we know it right now is not the game of football that we had 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago. Games evolve. And the other thing that I kept hearing, on social media last night was this isn't entertaining. That football should be an entertaining product. At the end of the day, football is a sport, but it's also entertainment. Okay, yeah, but the Philadelphia Eagles don't get paid more or less depending on how entertained you are. Like this isn't a comedy show. Like they don't hand out awards for the most entertaining team in the league. If that were the case, then, I think Baker Mayfield would have a whole lot more trophies in his trophy case because he's incredibly entertaining to watch. The Philadelphia Eagles don't care about the entertainment value of their product. The Eagles and 31 other teams in the National Football League care about winning games. And the Tush Push gives the Philadelphia Eagles an inherent advantage over every other team in the league until any other team can figure out how to execute the Tush Push at the level of the Philadelphia Eagles. So I hear you that we all would love to, watch 75 to 72 type of offensive firepower kind of games. We all want to be entertained, right? We all dread those 10 to 7 type of defensive slogfest kind of games. But their prerogative, win football games. Who go get entertained somewhere else.
Yeah, I think at some point the entertainment factor is just so subjective. So you're going to stop a team from running the football too much in general because that's not as entertaining.
It's also it's just a weak argument.
It's a slippery slope. What about Jalen Hurts overall, though, in this offense? Because the Philadelphia Eagles offense in the last 10 days is suddenly broken. Now, he's 23rd in passing, 16th in passing touchdowns. I mean, look at all those. It is broken. But I also look at it, Caroline, and say as much as we're going to pile on to Jalen Hurts, I thought the play calling looked broken last night. I thought the overall execution looked broken. In 10 days, we've gone from the Eagles are the best team in the NFL to suddenly Jalen Hurts sucks. Like, I can't make that big of a leap down. I think they're just in a rut right now that they need to figure out offensively. And by the way, you weren't going to fix that from Sunday to Thursday on a short week for Thursday Night Football. Let's see what happens over the course of the entire season before we suddenly decide that Jalen Hurts isn't good. I just can't go there.
It's also funny that we're having this conversation today because we weren't having this conversation when the Eagles were winning games. Like when the Eagles weren't throwing the football, but they were 4-0, like nobody had an issue with Jalen Hurts then. All of a sudden you lose a couple of games and the sky is falling. Before I call the Eagles issue a Jalen Hurts issue, I have to call it a Kevin Patullo issue. Kevin Patullo, the Eagles offensive coordinator, because offensive play calling really has been an issue in Philadelphia all season long. I mean, they didn't complete a single pass in the second half of was that week 3, week 4, whatever week that was. They didn't complete a single pass in the second half, and it was fine. It looked ugly. It was gross. Talk about entertainment value. It was ugly. It was gross, but they were able to find a way to win. I think that this is an offensive coordinator not having a good feel for the game kind of issue for the Eagles. Figure that out before you start pointing fingers at Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%. And by the way, there's just plenty of football left to be had here. Is it broken? Yes. Do they need to figure it out? Yes. They're still the team that won the Super Bowl last year. And as we say all the time, give Fat Guys a lot of credit and a lot of blame in this. Like they were without a key piece of their offensive line last night. That made a massive difference. So again, There's just context to all of it that's bigger to me than Jalen Hurts.